Greetings, Ventures. This is Lorne, your guild advisor, and it's been a while, but I'm back with a new DanMemo news update. They just did a live stream today, which is a day earlier than normal, but they had a significant announcement, I would say, because this is actually the first time we've ever had a White Day event. Like, we've had the Valentine event before, where we showcase like all the girls of DanMachi. But finally, the time of men has come in a gacha game. Normally, gacha games, or few of them, do White Day events where you can roll for female characters. And of course, the developers can't help themselves because we still got about 2 female characters in here. So, but I do like the female characters in masculine clothes. So I'll give them a pass this time. I'll give them a pass. But anyway, let's break it down. It's the Dungeon Whiteout event. It's kind of a sequel to the previous Xenos Valentine event we just had. It continues the story. So that'll be actually pretty interesting, seeing possibly Loki Familia interact with some of the Xenos, especially after the aftermath of Season 3, if you guys have seen that for DanMachi. And I'm very curious if they're going to make any references to any Sword of Ritoria content, because Sword of Ritoria is going alongside the main series, and there's another side to that Loki Familia conflict during what happened in main series season 3. So I'm curious to see if they acknowledge anything of that nature there. And also be on the lookout for the official Twitter account. There's currently a campaign. They get a combination of 2,500 Twitter likes, retweets, Facebook likes, and shares. We'll be getting some Iris and some Exilia books and potato snacks, so make sure you at least do your part and share this through the various social media places, because there should be no way that we don't make this goal. And I know I don't have, like, not everyone on my channel is an active subscriber, but I have 9k, so you would think if at least 25% of those people do something with Twitter or Facebook, we'd easily make that. But yes, here we are, 4 facts about Dungeon Whiteout. Like I said, the first White Day event for DanMemo, a long tale connected to Valentine's story, Xenos and Loki Familia working together. Like I said, that's going to be very interesting with the context of Season 3. And then Finn's fortune cookie, whatever that is, probably like some event items and such. And then we'll go over to characters. We have Gracious Princess Eyes, excellent art. I just love the aesthetic of a character just chilling back on like this kind of chair, like a throne, and just chilling. Like, it reminds me of Final Fantasy Versus 13 or 15 with Noctis, or lots of artwork with Sora from Kingdom Hearts. I love the chair aesthetic. I don't know what it is, I just love it. And Eyes is rocking that outfit. This particular Eyes will be a fire magic attacker with a max magic stat of 1978 and a pretty good agility of 1007. And before we get into the skills themselves, I'd like to thank simhauu on the DanMemo subreddit for the skill translations. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check out the original thread. But as for Eyes' special arts, it's an AoE Ultra Fire magic attack with a temporary magic boost, and removes strength, magic, dexterity, endurance, and agility buffs excluding assist skills. So if you do manage to land her special arts during a war game, you are going to remove all the buffs your opponent has. As for her combat skills, I'm actually starting to put in the MP cost for the combat skills just for a nice frame of reference. Her first skill is a self-fire attack damage buff and magic buff of 60% for 3 turns, and also gives your allies a 30% AoE damage reduction for 3 turns, and she has an additional 3 actions of an AoE low fire magic attack. So a lot of stuff happening with that first skill. You definitely want to be using that first in stuff like war games. As for her second skill, it's an AoE fast high magic attack with a high uncounter rate and reduces magic resistance by 35% for 2 turns, so definitely aimed for more magic oriented teams. Her third skill is a single target mid-fire magic attack that will increase in damage by 35% for each self-fire attack damage and magic buff on her, so definitely use that if you're in a single target situation, but make sure to buff yourself first and also have the appropriate assist that will also increase those stats, because that will give you the maximum benefit from that third skill. As for her notable passive, she has a plus 35% wind resistance. On her counter attack, she will actually extend any status debuffs on the opponent by 1 turn. and she has 15% extra damage on penetrations and the Beast Killer ability, so expect the next Familia event to have Beast type enemies. The next character will be the Iris Blanc Belle, looking snazzy. He'll be a water physical attack character with a max strength of 2003, a max limit break, max hero ascension, and a pretty good agility at 1100. As for his special arts, it's an AoE ultra water physical attack with a temporary strength boost and 50% chance to seal. Oh man, ailments. And as for his combat skills, his first skill is an AoE low water physical attack that will decrease the opponent's water resistance and dexterity by 25%, and also increase his own strength by 85%, all that for 5 turns. As for his second skill, it's an AoE fast mid-water physical attack that has a 10% chance to seal, and will also decrease the physical resistance and ailments resistance of your opponents by 20% for 2 turns. So definitely a character targeted towards people that use ailment teams, and I hate using those types of teams myself because it just feels like I'm not even playing the opponents. Though to be fair, War Games is automated, so you're not really playing anybody, and if you do win using ailments, all the power to you. I mean, might as well do what you have to do to get wins and get that Iris, because who really wants to spend too much money on a gacha game? So more power to you. I just can't stand using ailments myself. And then as for his third skill, it's a single target super water physical attack with a temporary strength boost and high critical rate. So he's mostly oriented again towards AoE ailment teams, and he has that little extra single attack on the side if you do need to use a water character for a single target boss fight. And as for his level passives, like every Belle, he is immune to charm, has a bonus 35% fire resistance, does 50% more damage on counters, and has the Beast Killer ability. Next character is Braver Blanc Finn, looking snazzy as well. And he has a pretty high max strength of 2072. His agility is not as high at 1002. As for his special arts, it's a single target ultra water physical attack that will increase in damage by 30% for each strength and magic debuff on the opponent. So kind of weird that it's both strength and magic, but most people will use like an assist that will decrease strength or magic, and also a character like Haruhime that can debuff strength and magic. So make sure you got all those check marks crossed out so you can use them on like a record buster boss, because this is definitely what Finn is targeted for. As for his combat skills, the first skill is a self strength and water attack damage buff of 65% for 4 turns, and also gives an additional 3 actions of a single target low water physical attack with a high penetration rate. So definitely use that skill first to set him up. And then the second skill is a single target mid-water physical attack with a temporary strength boost, and decreases the physical and water resistance of your opponents by 30% for 2 turns. Again, another setup move. For this final one, his skill 3, which is a single target slow super water physical attack with a high penetration rate, and adds 2 turns to the status debuff duration of the enemy. So as long as your opponent isn't clearing off their debuffs like some record buster bosses do, you only need to use that skill 2 once. And as for his notable passives, he has a bonus 35% fire resistance, his counters have an ultra penetration rate, and he does 20% more damage on penetration, so those two pair quite nicely, along with his other abilities that have a high penetration rate. And of course, he has the Beast Killer ability, and he's probably going to be a monster for whatever the Familia event is going to be when it comes to the single target boss of the event. And then the next character is Royal Mage Riveria, looking dazzling as well in the masculine clothing. I don't know what it is. I'm attracted to like anime female characters in masculine clothing. I have no idea what it is. And she will be a magic attacker, a fire magic attack to be exact, with a max magic stat of 1990. With a max agility at 1015. And as for her special arts, it's an AoE ultra fire magic attack with a temporary magic boost, and decreases the counter and the penetration rate of your opponents by 50% for 1 turn. So a pretty substantial amount, and maybe when you use her special arts, you don't have to worry about your opponent counter attacking, so that's always nice. And as for her combat skills, her first skill is an AoE fast slow fire magic attack, and decreases fire resistance by 30%. And will increase her own fire attack damage by a whopping 90% for 5 turns. So a good debuff and a good buff for her with that first skill. Then for her second skill, it's an AoE super fire magic attack that will increase in damage by 60% for each fire attack damage buff on her, and also reduces 1 turn of the fire damage buff that is on her after that skill is used. So skill 1 gives you that buff for 5 turns. Using skill 2 will decrease that buff that you have by 1 turn. So make sure you're managing that correctly. And as for her third skill, it's a single target high fire magic attack that will increase damage by 60% for every fire attack damage buff on her. So yeah, make sure you're using your skill 1 to get that fire attack damage buff to maximize the utility of skill 2 and skill 3's modifiers. And as for her notable passive, she has a bonus 35% wind resistance, does 15% more damage on criticals, and has the Beast Killer ability. And then we're going into the assist characters. Poor Bet. Like, I'm glad that he got a character and it's a White Day character, but poor Bet being relegated to an assist character. Though I am interested in who he's going to interact with White Day, because I definitely want to see an interaction between him and Elena, especially if he's going to be wearing that outfit. As for his stats, the 1020 HP is pretty decent. Strength and magic aren't too great, though his agility is pretty good at 598. His assist skill at +5 will give your allies a plus 20% fire attack damage bonus and decrease the guard rate and heal rate of your enemies by 25%. So if you're using a fire team, definitely something you want to be using. And then next up we have an Elgar and Blanc Gareth. So Gareth getting another character. It's cool that he's like getting more characters, because it was a long time for Gareth to get like a new 4-star character, because the first one was a New Year's Gareth that actually came during the time when we didn't actually have the game yet, but Japan did. And we didn't get one until Australia Record, which is a younger Gareth, because I don't count Galmus, which is from the Argonaut event, because it's a ancestor of Gareth, but it's not actually him. So cool that he's getting more characters. And as for him, quite appropriately, he has a high strength at 604, a decent agility at 438 at max. And as for his assist skill at +5, he will decrease the opponent's physical resistance by 20% and also their magic dexterity and endurance by 15%. So definitely want to be using that for any physical oriented teams that you have. And then this is poor Fels, man. Poor Fels. Everyone gets this cool background, and the event, like, grindable characters always get these plain white ones. But at least Fels gets a new unit, and it actually looks pretty cool. Fels having a white character. And as for him, like, not too much to go over. It's just pretty mediocre stats, pretty decent HP at 1126. These farmable characters are never like ones you want to keep using forever. It's just something to get a newer player in line and get started with the game. As for Fels at +5, it will decrease the fire resistance and water resistance of your opponents by 10%, so not that much. But endurance is pretty good at -20%, so that's actually a decent amount for endurance at least. And as for the banner layout, it will be Eyes, Finn, and Bet on the Answer Gacha, and then Belle, Riveria, and Gareth on the Harmony Gacha. Now as for my targets, I want Eyes, Bet, Belle, and Riveria at the least. I have a decent amount of Iris, but again, be careful about spending your Iris, because we are supposed to have some kind of collab in the spring, and March is spring technically, like March 21st, I think, or somewhere around that time. So be careful. I'm not sure how long the event is going to last, but maybe wait until the event is nearing its end before spending all your Iris, just in case they announce like the collaboration before that. And one thing to keep in mind is that all these characters seem to be not time limited, so at some point they'll go into the regular gacha. You can get them by using regular tickets. So they're not time limited. The only thing you need to worry about is getting that Fels to maximum, just grinding out the event. But by the looks of it, it looks like these characters will not be time limited, which is really, really nice. And this is the login bonus for the event, and poor Wealth not being part of the event, but putting him in the picture here. There is a nice reward at the very end, which is the 11 draw guaranteed 4-star ticket, so that'll be nice to get by the end of that campaign. And of course, naturally, there are paid bundles, so be careful about spending your money. We are getting into the season where people are getting their tax refunds back, but again, be careful. There's also going to be a Holy Flame Fiesta paid gacha where you can get characters that only release during 2020 or later, which is kind of nice if you're a spender, though I tend to avoid these. I actually don't know how exactly they work because I'm not interested in doing this, because why would I be with such a wide selection of characters? Why would you spend money on that? I don't know. But it's there for you guys if you want to invest in it. And of course, 7th Zone is going to be refreshed this week along with Record Buster. The cool thing about Record Buster is that we'll be getting the skill flow. And it says it's starting on the 25th, but that's based on Japanese Standard Time. As usual, guys, this stuff will be happening on Wednesday night if you're in the US. So keep that in mind. And for skill flow, it's interesting that's going to be in Record Buster, because normally you're just doing Record Buster trying to see what combination of like units and attacks and with the order of how you do the attacks will get you the best score. So I assume like if you're done with your optimal like layout of units and you're getting the order proper, I guess after that optimal run you say that to your skill flow and you just keep repeating that and hoping RNG is in your favor with the skill flow. So I'm guessing that's what most people are going to be doing. Find the optimal layout and move set, and then use skill flow to grind the RNG of your best comp. I'm assuming that's what you're going to do. And then this is the upcoming schedule. So on the 25th, again, the 24th, because Japanese Standard Time, skill flow with Record Buster, the Dungeon Whiteout event, and the gacha characters, the paid bundles, the Bonus Iris campaign, which is that social media campaign I posted about, and then the 7th Zone being refreshed along with the Record Buster, and then the login bonus starts on the 25th, but for most people it will actually be on the 26th, because for some reason that's just how the game is coded. If you don't log in during the morning, you will get it on the 25th, but most people do. And remember, as we enter the next month, we get a refresh on the items in the Serios and Dolb shop, along with the Iris and Hero Ascension Falna combos, and then the Familia Royale, the next Familia event, with the Beast Killer ability being very needed in that. That will start on March 4th. And the last thing I want to highlight is that at least this morning, a lot of people were having issues if they were on iOS because their game just kept crashing at the main menu. As of this recording, the main Twitter account has not yet acknowledged that or said anything about it, so I'm assuming that the issue's not fixed yet. And if it's not, I'm very curious on how they're going to handle the current Familia wargame that's happening right now, because if some people still can't log in, that's going to be extremely unfair to everyone that's on iOS and is participating in the Familia wargame. So I wouldn't be surprised if they like suspended the Familia wargame or cancel it or just like stopped it where it is right now. I'm very curious in seeing how they're going to handle that situation if people are continuing to have login issues. But I just wanted to highlight that for iOS users, like you're not alone. Other people are having issues. But again, guys, excited that we're actually getting a White Day event. If you are rolling for characters, I hope you get the ones you want, and just be careful about spending too much Iris, because again, we are supposed to be getting a collab in the spring, and March is the start of spring. So before going all out, again, I advise to at least wait to see what the next banners are going to be. Like, we'll see how long this event is supposed to last. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the upcoming White Day event. If you want to see more DanMachi content or light novel content in general, I'm covering the Tomozaki stuff because the anime is ongoing, and I'm a fan of the light novel, so I'm making content on that right now. Follow me on Twitter for more updates. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and join my Discord. And as always, continue enjoying your time adventuring Riveria and the dungeon. This is Lauren, your guild advisor, signing out.
渦を巻く雨雲から差し込んだまっすぐ